Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a dark forest. No map, no compass, just silence all around. At first, it's uncomfortable, even scary. You can't see what's ahead, but something inside you whispers, "Keep walking." That's what real growth feels like. It's not loud. It doesn't come with applause. It comes in moments of silence when nobody is watching, and every step forward feels like you're walking through shadows. Now listen, some of you have been told that if you go silent, they'll come back, that if you stop texting, stop calling, and just vanish, somehow they'll magically miss you. And I get it. It's tempting. Silence feels like control, right? But here's the truth, my friends. Silence alone won't work. Not if you stay the same person they walked away from. Silence without transformation is just quiet desperation. Let's break the lie real quick. They don't miss the silence. They miss what they believe is happening inside it. And if nothing is actually happening, if you're just sitting there scrolling, hoping, waiting, then they're not missing you. They're moving on from you. Harsh truth, I know. But truth is what sets us free. Because here's the deal. Silence isn't supposed to be a waiting room. It's supposed to be a training ground. This is where you start building a version of yourself that makes the past version look like a warm-up. You hit the gym, not to impress them, but to respect your body. You learn to sit in discomfort without running to distractions. You start building mental armor. And while you're in that quiet, while you're grinding behind the curtain, they feel it. Trust me, they do. Your energy doesn't lie. Folks, most people are addicted to noise, to being seen, to validation. They post stories hoping someone will notice, waiting for a reply, needing attention like oxygen. But when you go silent and you actually grow in that silence, you become different. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to be noticed to feel powerful. That's the kind of silence that shakes people, the kind that makes them pause mid-scroll and wonder, what's he becoming without me? You see, growth that happens in the shadows, it's the most dangerous kind, because by the time they realize you've changed, it's too late. You've already leveled up. You've already found peace, clarity, and purpose they never gave you. It's like what Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Your silence doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be real, filled with growth, filled with meaning, filled with momentum. So if you've been ghosted, betrayed, left behind, don't just go quiet. Go deep. Build in secret. Become the man she never thought you could be, not for her, but for yourself, for the life that's waiting on the other side of this pain. This isn't about revenge, this is about rebirth. So if this message hits you in the gut, don't run from it. Lean into it. Own it. Write it in the comments right now. I grow in the shadows. Say it out loud. Show yourself. Show the world around you that silence doesn't mean surrender. It means evolution. And if you're ready to turn your silence into power, into presence, into something unforgettable, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me, because this is just the beginning. Number 1, they went cold. Good. Now, let the shadow growth begin. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. So, they pulled back. They stopped texting. Conversations faded. They started watching your stories without replying, or maybe disappeared altogether. Cold, silent, distant, and you're left wondering, do they even care? Now your friends are telling you to go no contact. TikTok says, just go silent, bro. They'll come back. But let's be real, folks. Silence without growth is just another form of waiting. You're not here to wait. You're here to wake up. Let's imagine something. Picture a seed buried deep underground. It's not dead. It's not gone. It's becoming something. But from the surface, looks like nothing's happening. That's you right now, buried, quiet. But what they can't see is what's forming. The root system, the power, the foundation. That's shadow growth. It's not glamorous. It's not seen. But when it starts showing, everyone around you feels it, even if they can't name it, especially them. The one who let go of your hand now wonders who you're becoming in the silence. Because here's the part they don't expect. They thought you'd wait. They thought you'd chase. They thought your silence meant confusion. But instead, you use that silence to evolve. You see, my friends, they don't actually miss you when you go quiet. Not at first. Not if you're just sitting there, refreshing their page, hoping for breadcrumbs. But when you start growing in that silence, when you start doing things they can't see but will eventually feel, that's when the shift begins. Because silence alone doesn't shake people. Transformation does. That's why the silence has to be real. It has to be backed by something. The gym sessions, the early mornings, the cold showers, the books, the discipline, the stillness that isn't sad. It's strategic. But I know what's going through your mind. What if they never notice? What if they forget about me? What if this silence pushes them further away? Let me break a hard truth for you. If they forget you during your evolution, they were never for you to begin with. But if they feel the shift, and trust me, they will, they won't forget. Because energy doesn't need to call. It doesn't need to text. It's felt. Especially when it comes from a man who's no longer waiting, no longer hurting, no longer lost. They pulled back, but that's not your cue to chase. It's your cue to change. You don't need to scream your value. You don't need to explain what they missed. You just need to become undeniable. That's the work. That's shadow growth. And let me tell you what really haunts them. It's not that you went silent, it's that you went silent and became a mystery, that you vanished from their narrative and reappeared as someone they can't predict anymore. Because predictable men don't cause curiosity, and without curiosity there is no regret, no wondering, no shift. But when you show restraint, when you don't react, and more importantly, when you rebuild, you start becoming something they can't read, and what people can't read, they obsess over, especially when they thought they had you figured out. Seneca said, "Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life." That means, don't wait. Don't waste another day hoping silence will do the heavy lifting. It won't. But silence plus shadow growth, that's a storm. That's a force. You think they won't notice? They will. Not because you post about it, not because you broadcast your wins, but because your energy will change. That's the part they don't teach you in breakup advice videos. Silence is only powerful when it's paired with transformation. Otherwise, it's just emotional hunger dressed in discipline. That's not the Stoic way. The Stoic way is to build in the shadows so deeply that by the time they realize your value, you've already outgrown the version of you they thought they knew. And here's another lie to break while we're at it. If they don't come back, it was all for nothing. False. Even if they don't return, you did. You came back to yourself, stronger, sharper, rooted. That's the real prize. Because the goal is not to be missed. The goal is to become so complete in your presence, so aligned with your path, that their absence no longer defines your worth. Let that sit. You're not in the shadows to hide. You're in the shadows to forge, to burn away the weak parts, to rebuild the man who doesn't flinch at rejection, who doesn't collapse when ignored, who doesn't bend for crumbs of affection. A man who can be silent, not because he's hurt, but because he's focused. So if they've gone cold, good. Let the silence do its job, but only if you're doing yours. Rise in the dark, sharpen in the silence, evolve so deeply that the old version of you wouldn't recognize who you've become. And when they feel that shift, because trust me, they will, it won't be your silence that haunts them. It'll be the thought, what did he become without me? If you felt that truth hit something inside you, type it in the comments right now. I rise in silence. Say it. Show it. Let the world know you're not just going quiet. You're going inward. And if you're still with me, stay locked in, because what comes next, that's where the real transformation begins. Number 2, it's not the silence that hurts them, it's the shadow they can't see. Now that you've gone silent, you're probably asking yourself, when does it start to work? When do they notice? When do they miss me? When does the regret finally hit? But here's the twist no one warns you about. It's not the silence that hurts them. It's what they can't see in that silence. The mystery, the unknown, the shadow version of you that's being built behind closed doors. That's what makes their chest tighten. That's what makes the silence echo louder than anything you could have said. Because let's be real, if you're just sitting in silence, doing nothing, refreshing her feed, hoping she slips up and sends a message, then you're not healing, you're hiding, and hiding gets you nowhere. But when you use that silence like a gym for your soul, when you're lifting not just weights, but your standards, your boundaries, your self-discipline, now that's what I call shadow growth. See, folks, people aren't scared of silence. They're scared of what they imagine is happening inside of it. Their mind starts filling in the blanks. And when you don't give them updates, when you're no longer accessible, no longer predictable, that's when curiosity starts clawing at their confidence. What is he doing? Why hasn't he called? Is he seeing someone else? Has he changed? Did he finally move on? You don't even have to say a word, because your absence is now painted with possibility, and the possibility of your growth. That's what haunts them. You know why? Because they expected you to wait. They expected you to break. They expected weakness, because maybe that's who you were when they left. But now, they don't know who you are anymore. And that unknown version of you, that shadow they can't touch, can't control, can't explain away, that's what makes them spiral at night while pretending everything's fine during the day. Let me give you a visual. Imagine walking into a room you've walked into 100 times before. Same door, same furniture, same air. You've always been in control of that space. But one day, you walk in, and something's off. You don't know what's changed, but it's different. You feel it. And the uncertainty, that's what eats away at you. That's how they feel now. They try to scroll past you. They try to forget your name. But there's this pull, and it's not because you're begging for it. It's because you've become unfamiliar. And unfamiliar creates tension. Tension creates curiosity. Curiosity creates reflection, and reflection, real, quiet, late-night reflection, creates regret. But listen closely. That only happens if you're actually growing. You can't fake this. You can't half-ass your shadow work. You can't pretend to be strong while still craving their approval. They'll feel that too, because people may not hear your thoughts, but they always feel your energy. Shadow growth means facing your own demons before the world ever sees your glow-up. It's those mornings where your heart still hurts, but you get up anyway. It's the nights when loneliness tries to pull you back into old habits. But you sit with the pain and let it refine you instead of define you. And let me be clear, shadow growth is not a revenge mission. You're not transforming to prove something to them. You're transforming to return to yourself, the version of you that forgot how to be whole without their validation. He's not leading anymore. He's being replaced. They don't know what you're doing, but they feel the shift. It's in the fact that you don't check their stories. It's in the silence after their test message goes unanswered. It's in the absence of your name in their notifications. It's in the aura that says, I don't need your attention anymore. I have my own. And here's what hits hardest. The more you grow in silence, the more their own confidence shakes. Why? Because suddenly they're not sure if they ever truly knew you. The man who once answered every call, the man who once chased after closure, the man who once bent to avoid conflict. He's gone, and in his place is a man who no longer seeks to be understood. He seeks to become unshakable. That's what makes the silence dangerous, not the quiet itself, but the evolution happening behind it. That's the storm they never saw coming, because the silence that doesn't break, that isn't desperate, that doesn't even need a response. It turns into a mirror. And when they look into it, they don't just see your absence, they see their own reflection, their choices, their mistakes, their assumptions, their ego. And that's when the tables turn. Folks, this is why I say it again and again. Don't just go silent, go inward. Do the work. Lift the weight of your past off your shoulders. Stop scrolling through their memories and start building your own legacy. No one needs to clap for you. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You need reconstruction. Silence alone might be forgotten, but silence backed by shadow growth, that becomes unforgettable. So the next time they wonder, where did he go? Let the silence whisper back, he didn't vanish, he evolved. And you no longer have access. If that hits your chest like thunder, say it out loud. Type it in the comments right now. I'm building in silence. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them feel what it's like to lose access to a man who stopped waiting and started rising. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you exactly how that evolution becomes magnetic. Number 3, they can't miss the same you. That's why shadow growth must be real. Let's not sugarcoat it, my friend. If you're still the same man she left, there's nothing to miss, nothing to question, nothing to reflect on, nothing to regret. That's the truth most don't want to hear. See, you can go silent all you want. You can block, unfollow, ignore, disappear. But if you're still the same emotionally reactive, insecure, validation-hungry version of yourself, she won't feel your absence. She'll escape it. Because the only thing worse than being forgotten is being remembered exactly how they left you. And that's where shadow growth steps in. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about replacing the parts of you that made their absence hurt in the first place. Think about it. The silence itself, it's just space, empty air, time. Anyone can do that. Anyone can disappear for a while, but disappearing without evolving is just emotional procrastination. The reason they begin to miss you, the reason your name starts echoing in their mind when it used to sit quietly in their past, isn't because you stayed away. It's because you became unreachable. Not unreachable physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually. The man she once knew, gone, replaced. evolved, and she didn't get a front row seat to the process. That's what shakes her. Because here's what no one tells you. People don't crave what they had. They crave what they can't figure out. They crave mystery. They crave depth. And that depth isn't found in your silence. It's found in what you do with it. Let me paint a picture. Imagine she stumbles across your page months later. No cryptic quotes, no sad lyrics, no "watch what you lost" captions, just stillness, clean energy, confidence that doesn't ask for permission, growth that speaks without needing to shout. They seize the new you, not because you told her, not because you tried to make her jealous, but because your presence, even in silence, feels different. They scrolls, they pauses. And that question, it hits her chest before her mind can block it. Who is he now? That's the moment. That's when curiosity begins to grow into confusion, confusion into reflection, reflection into regret. But only if you've done the work. Because let's be real here, if you went silent but you're still checking her page every night, still writing texts you'll never send, still fantasizing about her apology like it's your lifeline, that's not growth. That's emotional starvation. And starvation doesn't make people miss you, it makes you miss yourself. That's why shadow growth is so crucial. It's not just about them, it's about you breaking the pattern. You used to chase because you needed validation. You used to explain because you couldn't handle being misunderstood. You used to beg for closeness because distance made you question your worth. But not anymore. Not after you've stepped into the fire of your own discomfort and walked out, forged in silence. Now you build, not for revenge, but for revelation. Now you lift, not to post, but to discipline the body. Now you meditate, not to look wise, but to quiet the chaos they left inside you. And guess what? That kind of energy, it doesn't scream, it hums, it radiates, it magnetizes. Because a man who doesn't chase anything becomes the man everything eventually wants to chase. And here's what will shock them most. They thought they knew your limits. They thought they understood your patterns. They thought your silence was temporary. They thought you were just hurt. They thought you'd return the second they gave you an inch. But you didn't. Because this time, your silence wasn't a pause. It was a rebirth. You didn't go quiet because you were broken. You went quiet because you were busy rebuilding. And by the time they realize the version of you they took for granted doesn't exist anymore, it's already too late. And that's what lingers. Not guilt, not anger, not the urge to text back, but the feeling that they mislabeled you, that they walked away from a story that wasn't even finished, that the man they thought was soft, needy, or overly emotional is now sharper, stronger, calmer, and more at peace than ever. And let me be clear, this isn't about being cold. You're not trying to punish them. You're not creating distance to manipulate. You're just no longer accessible to people who didn't value your proximity. And that, my friend, is power. Not because they're suffering, but because you're no longer suffering over their absence. You're not reacting to them anymore. You're responding to yourself. You're not becoming the man they wanted. You're becoming the man you needed. And the moment you shift into that kind of alignment, that's when silence becomes a language, a frequency, a vibration they can't escape. Not because you want them to hurt, but because your presence, even in absence, reveals everything they didn't take seriously when they had the chance. And that, my brother, is how you turn silence into something unforgettable. Not with noise, not with games, But with growth so real, it redefines your story without saying a word. So if you're in that quiet right now, if you're healing behind the curtain, if you're training while no one's clapping, if you're building a version of yourself that no longer begs to be seen, type it below right now. They won't recognize me. Say it. Own it. Show the world around you that you're not hiding. You're rising. And when the time comes, the silence won't just speak. It'll shock them. Stay with me. What's coming next will show you how to keep building this new identity until silence isn't just your strategy. It's your superpower. Number 4. They expected you to break, but you chose to build in the dark. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca. They thought you'd break. They really did. The moment you stopped calling, the moment you went quiet, the second you didn't respond to the breadcrumb text or the vague Instagram story clearly meant to catch your attention, they assumed you'd come crawling back. Because that's what most do. They wait, they weaken, they react. But you didn't do any of that. You went silent, and then you went inward. You see, people are used to silence being temporary, a tactic, a tantrum, a cry for attention in disguise. They expect you to fold, to fumble, to flinch, because most men don't know how to sit in silence without spiraling. Most go quiet, hoping someone will notice, not realizing that silence without substance is just invisible noise. But not you, not this time, because something changed. This wasn't silence out of spite. This was silence out of strength. You didn't slam the door. You didn't make a scene. You didn't play the victim. You disappeared to develop. You withdrew to rebuild. You vanished to evolve. And that's the part that messes with them, because you weren't supposed to get better without them. You weren't supposed to thrive alone. You weren't supposed to find peace in your own reflection. But here you are, and the version of you they had mapped out in their head, he no longer exists, because a man who builds in the shadows doesn't come back the same. They thought you'd suffer in the silence, but instead you sharpened in it. They expected isolation to weaken you, but you used it as insulation to protect your growth. That's the paradox of true shadow work. It looks like absence from the outside, but inside, it's a renaissance. You're not just sitting in silence, you're rewiring every part of yourself, the way you think, the way you show up, the way you breathe. And let's talk about the fear they don't speak of, the one that starts to creep in after a few weeks of no reaction, no texts, no posts, no signs of emotional collapse. They start wondering, is he really okay without me? Did he let go for real? Was his silence not a reaction, but a decision? That's the sting. Not the silence itself, but the realization that you're not waiting in it. You're working in it. That the man they thought they left behind was really just a caterpillar, and now you're becoming the butterfly they can't touch. But this isn't about them, is it? This is about you remembering your power. This is about you realizing you don't need to be seen to be significant, that your worth isn't measured by their return. It's revealed by your refinement. Because real growth doesn't scream, it doesn't perform, it doesn't beg to be noticed. It unfolds quietly in dark rooms, in early mornings, in lonely nights, in reps that no one applauds, in journal pages that no one will read. Shadow growth is silent warfare. It's the moment you choose to discipline your desires instead of being ruled by them. It's when you delete the number not out of anger, but out of alignment. It's when you stop wondering, will they come back? and start asking, what am I becoming? Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. The man who chases is always predictable. The man who waits is always controlled. But the man who transforms, he becomes unforgettable, not because he's loud, not because he's flashy, but because he became rare. And that's what makes people panic, not the absence of contact, but the absence of access. They start to feel the emotional gap, not because you cut them off, but because you outgrew the version of you that kept the door open. And that version of you, the one who needed validation, who needed reassurance, who needed someone to tell him he was enough. That man died in the silence. You buried him in discipline. You starved him of distraction. You replaced him with presence. And now you're not reacting to breadcrumbs because you're too full to eat crumbs. You're not looking back because your eyes are locked on the future. You're not seeking closure because you became the closure. Let that sink in. You didn't need to explain yourself. You didn't need to defend your heart. You didn't need to shout, post, or plead. You just built, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And that energy, it lingers. It stirs something in them they don't want to admit. The same silence they thought was weakness is now whispering, "You misjudged him." But this isn't about regret. This is about rebirth. This is about the man you've become when no one was watching. The man who doesn't chase validation. The man who doesn't argue to be understood. The man who doesn't wait to be chosen, because he already chose himself. And if you're reading this and feeling it in your chest, if you've been in that dark space, walking through the emotional fire, shedding skin no one saw, then type it in the comments right now. I didn't break, I built. Say it. Mean it. Live it. Let the silence speak for you. Let the work answer all the questions. Let the new you make the old story irrelevant, because they expected your silence to mean surrender, but you used it to write your second chapter. And when they finally see who you've become, they won't just miss you. They'll mourn the access they'll never get back. Keep going. Stay with me. The next step in this journey will show you exactly how to turn this growth into gravity, the kind that pulls everything toward you without ever having to chase again. Number 5. They thought you were waiting, but you were rebuilding in silence. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus. They thought you were waiting for the apology, waiting for a sign, waiting for a message that never came. They thought your silence meant pause, that you were still emotionally parked in the same spot they left you in, quietly counting the days until they'd return. Because that's what most people do after someone pulls away. They wait. They stay available. They freeze in time, hoping their stillness will be noticed. But here's the truth, the one they never expected to face. You weren't waiting. You were rebuilding. You were down in the shadows with your sleeves rolled up, doing the work no one saw, not to impress, not to attract. But because you were tired of living as a version of yourself that depended on someone else to feel whole, while they were assuming you were stuck, you were learning to walk again, not on their timeline, on yours. Waiting is hollow, it's passive, it's rooted in hope without movement. But rebuilding, that's a sacred mission. That's waking up early not to be seen, but to meet yourself again. That's sweating through the pain in the gym, pouring yourself into your work, sitting with your demons until you understand them, then disarming them in silence. You weren't just quiet. You were intentional. That's what changes everything. You didn't post vague quotes for attention. You didn't throw hints into the void. You didn't hope they'd feel your absence through breadcrumbs and half-hearted silence. Instead, you disappeared and you developed. You got serious. You got still. And while they were scrolling, pretending, partying, or playing games, you were putting your brokenness under construction. Piece by piece, thought by thought, brick by brick. And here's the part they didn't see coming. Silence only hurts when it holds weight. Silence backed by growth becomes energy, a force, a vibration they can't touch anymore. While they assumed you were on pause, you were pushing play on a whole new life, a new identity, a new mindset. The man they thought they left behind doesn't exist anymore, and they're starting to feel that in ways they can't put into words. They believed they had time to explore, time to ignore your worth, time to circle back if their new path didn't work out. But time didn't work in their favor, because you didn't wait for them to decide you were worthy. You decided for yourself. And when a man makes that decision, everything around him begins to shift. You didn't rebuild to make them jealous. You didn't evolve to throw it in their face. You didn't glow up to post about it. You grew because you were tired of the man who once needed to be chosen. You looked at him in the mirror and told him he wasn't enough, not in the eyes of others, but in the standard you were ready to hold for yourself. And that standard changed everything. You no longer looked for closure. You became it. You stopped waiting for the call, the apology, the validation. You stopped assigning your healing to their return, and the man who once begged for clarity now walks in calm, quiet certainty. You didn't block them out of bitterness. You stopped responding because you simply no longer resonate with who you were when you needed them. Now, the version of you that once chased their attention is unrecognizable, not in the way you dress or post or speak, but in your energy, in your restraint, in your refusal to react. And that energy, that's what shakes people the most. The emotional detachment that says, I'm not angry, I've just evolved. The stillness that says, I don't need to be remembered, I'm too busy becoming someone unforgettable. And now they're starting to feel it. Not in what you say, but in what you no longer do. You don't check their page. You don't entertain their games. You don't flinch when their name pops up, because you're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself, and that self-respect can't be faked. It's felt. They scroll through your silence, looking for a crack in the armor, but there is none. Not because you're heartless, but because you've done the work. You've gone deep. You've cried in private, healed in silence, bled in the dark. And now you walk with a weight that doesn't need to announce itself. That's what makes them question everything. They thought silence meant surrender, but your silence became your sanctuary, your battleground, your rebirth, and the man emerging from that space is not someone they'll recognize, because this time you didn't fold, you didn't chase, you didn't circle back to the same pain wearing a new name. You leveled up quietly, and now your energy says it all. I wasn't waiting. I was rebuilding. If you feel that in your bones, if you're that man rising from the wreckage, healing in the dark, growing without needing to be seen, say it out loud. Type it in the comments below. I wasn't waiting. I was rebuilding. Let that be your anthem, your reminder, your next step forward. Because the past version of you they thought they could come back to is long gone, and the man standing in his place no longer begs to be heard. He simply is. Stay with me. What comes next will show you how your silence becomes not just your strategy, but your signature. Number 6. They didn't expect you to change. Now the silence feels heavy. They thought they could walk away and come back to the same man. They assumed your silence was temporary, a pause in the pattern, a break before the begging began. They believed you were simply giving it time for them to explore, to pull back, to test your loyalty, without realizing that in that time you weren't just disappearing, you were transforming. They imagined you stuck at the last message they ignored, frozen at the point where they pulled away. But you weren't frozen, you were forging. At first, they dismissed the silence, called it a phase, told themselves you were hurt, maybe even a little bitter, but not strong enough to stay away for long, and that's what kept them calm for a while, until days turned into weeks, and still, nothing. No stories aimed at them, no just checking in messages, no emotional breadcrumbs dropped to remind them of your presence. That's when the unease started, because your silence wasn't passive. It wasn't a performance. It had weight. That's what they didn't see coming. The silence started feeling heavier. It pressed on their chest during late-night scrolling. It crept into their thoughts when they heard your name in passing. It whispered questions they didn't want to answer, because it wasn't just silence anymore. It was a void filled with possibility. And the part that haunted them most? They no longer had access to what you were becoming in it. See, most people think change is something you need to show. They expect visible proof, pictures, posts, dramatic announcements, but the real ones, they grow in secret, quietly, intentionally, while no one claps, while no one notices. And that kind of transformation, it's invisible at first, until it becomes undeniable. You didn't evolve to prove anything. You evolved because the version of you that allowed confusion and emotional crumbs was no longer welcome in your life. You didn't just go quiet. You got clear on what you want, clear on what you'll no longer tolerate, clear on who you are without someone else's approval to validate it. And that clarity doesn't need captions. It doesn't need followers. It doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. It's just felt, and they felt it. That shift, that unfamiliarity, that emotional distance that suddenly felt permanent. At first, they called it indifference. He doesn't care anymore. He's pretending. He's just being cold. But eventually, they realized it wasn't coldness. It was calm. It wasn't detachment. It was direction. You weren't frozen, you were focused, and in that realization, something shifted inside them, a discomfort, a question. Who is he now? That's what happens when a man builds in silence. He doesn't come back the same. In fact, sometimes he doesn't come back at all, not because he's bitter, not because he's punishing anyone, but because he's no longer available to the patterns that once broke him. That's what makes the silence so heavy now. It's not empty, it's not hollow, it's full of discipline, of peace, of evolution. They thought they had time to play, time to come back when they felt like it, time to test your absence like it was a revolving door. But while they were counting time, you were counting reps, counting new habits, counting days of alignment. They assumed you'd be emotionally paused where they left you, but by the time they looked again, you were already out of reach. And that's when they started feeling the regret, not because you were angry, not because you blocked them, but because you didn't need to. You didn't seek revenge, you didn't try to make a point, you didn't create chaos. You just stopped showing up in places that didn't honor your worth. And that absence, it was louder than anything you could have said. They missed the comfort of who you were, the predictability, the softness, the way you used to reach out even when they didn't deserve it, the way you explained yourself when you shouldn't have. But the man you've become, He doesn't explain. He embodies, and that's a level of peace they can't penetrate. It scares them because it reminds them of everything they took for granted. And no, this isn't about playing games. You didn't evolve to get them back. You didn't go silent to create mystery. You simply understood that becoming unavailable isn't about ego, it's about energy. You no longer offer your soul to people who can't hold it. You no longer apologize for your depth. You no longer tolerate emotional crumbs because now you're full on your own. So while they sit in confusion, trying to decode your silence, you're busy staying grounded. You're no longer reacting, you're reflecting. You're not proving, you're progressing. You don't need to announce your growth because it's written in your posture, your presence, your peace. And that energy, that quiet confidence, it's unforgettable. If you're reading this and it resonates, if you've been rebuilding in silence, if you've buried the old version of yourself and you're not looking back, say it out loud. Write it in the comments right now. They didn't expect this version. Say it for the nights you cried in silence and kept going. Say it for the mornings you woke up and chose growth over comfort. Say it for the man you're becoming, unapologetic, calm, disciplined. The man who doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't need to be seen to be respected, because the silence they once dismissed. It now feels like gravity, and they'll carry that weight, not because you wanted them to, but because you let go when they thought you wouldn't. Stay with me, because what's coming next will take this energy to a level they never saw coming. Number 7. They thought you'd fade away, but you became the one they can't ignore. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. They thought you were fading. They really believed that your silence meant you were slowly dissolving into the background, a forgotten echo of what once was. They assumed the absence of noise meant weakness, that you were crumbling behind the scenes, just waiting for a reason to come crawling back, hoping they'd throw you a glance, a message, a little breadcrumb of attention. But you weren't fading, you were forming. While they saw the stillness, they missed the shift, because your silence wasn't your surrender, it was your strategy. They misread your withdrawal as defeat, but the truth, you weren't breaking, you were building, you weren't falling apart in that quiet, you were falling into place, day by day, breath by breath. No grand announcements, no attention-seeking, just discipline, clarity, and calm. You chose not to scream, you chose not to explain, because you finally understood when a man has truth in his chest, he doesn't need to yell it, he lives it. What they didn't see was the man behind the silence, the man who woke up early while everyone else scrolled, the man who sat with pain, not to numb it, but to learn from it, the man who asked the hard questions, who bled in private, who turned heartbreak into blueprint. While they expected you to pause and pine, you pressed play on your healing, on your growth, on your next chapter. And now, that silence they thought would vanish into nothingness, it lingers, it pulses, it has weight. It's not the kind of quiet that gets ignored, it's the kind that gets felt. They feel it in rooms where your energy used to fill the space. They feel it in conversations that don't quite reach the depth you brought. They feel it when they laugh too loudly, scroll too quickly, chase too many things to avoid what's actually missing. You, not the version of you that chased, but the version of you they can't reach anymore. Because you didn't disappear, you became distant with purpose. You became a storm they never saw coming. You stopped trying to be seen, and somehow you became unforgettable, not because you begged, not because you retaliated, but because you evolved beyond what they ever imagined. And now that evolution is the loudest thing in their mind, not because you want it to be, but because energy, when it's refined in silence, becomes impossible to ignore. They thought your absence was passive, but it wasn't. It was sacred. It was the fire you lit under your own feet, the discipline you carved out of your own loneliness, the rebirth you orchestrated without applause. And now that you've become the man you were meant to be, steady, grounded, clear, they're stuck wondering if they ever truly knew you at all. They expected you to stay where they left you, but instead you outgrew the story. You stopped playing the role they cast for you. You walked off the stage and started writing your own script, and that's what shakes them. Not just that you're silent, but that your silence now has power. You don't just disappear, you elevate. You don't just walk away, you redefine. And maybe they'll never admit it. Maybe they'll never reach out. Maybe they'll stay silent too. But the difference is, your silence is not a pause. It's a path. You're walking forward while they're standing still, watching the dust of who you used to be settle behind you. And even if they don't speak, they feel it in their chest, in their sleep, in the quiet moments where distraction fails. You didn't do this to prove anything. You did it to protect everything. Your peace, your purpose, your self-worth. You don't need revenge. You don't need attention. You need alignment. And now that you've found it, you no longer fit into the chaos they tried to keep you in. You've outgrown their confusion. You've outpaced their indecision. You've become too still to be shaken and too deep to be replaced. So if you're standing in that silence now, if you're choosing to grow when no one claps, if you're letting go without anger, if you're healing in the dark where no one sees, let the world know. Say it with certainty. Type it in the comments right now. I became the one they can't ignore. Say it for the nights you stayed strong. Say it for the man you're becoming. Say it to remind yourself that silence isn't weakness, it's warrior training. And if this video spoke to you, if it gave you clarity, courage, or confirmation that your silence has purpose, then take a second right now and press that like button. Hit subscribe to join the brotherhood of men who are choosing to rise instead of chase. And if you know someone who's lost in their silence, share this with them, because sometimes the only thing we need is to know we're not walking through the dark alone. Stay grounded, stay focused, stay becoming, and I'll see you in the next one.